Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Vanessa, and if you're new here, welcome. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about how to ace your job interview. So hopefully by the end of this video, you will have learned some new tips and tricks that you can actually apply in your upcoming job interview. All my previous internships were mainly based in the politics and finance sector, but these tips are quite general, so I think that anyone in any field can apply them for their interview. Some of the places where I interned was, for example, at UBS, which is a Swiss investment bank. I did my summer internship there and my spring internship there. I also interned at the Bank of America Merrill Lynch, and I also interned at JP Morgan. And in September, I'm actually going to be starting my graduate scheme at KPMG. Now, for the politics side of things, I interned at the German Parliament while I was on my year abroad in Berlin, and I also interned at the European Committee of the Regions in Brussels. So this is just a broad overview of some of the internships that I completed, and all the tips and tricks that I will be sharing with you today I actually used in my own job interviews. So if you're interested, then please keep on watching. Tip number 1. Do your research on the company. Before your interview, you should make sure that you spend quite a lot of time doing research on the company. Now, all the information that you will need is on their website. You can look at things such as their accomplishments, so for example, whether they have won any awards. You can also look at their goals and mission. For example, how is the company trying to improve their corporate responsibility? Are they letting their employees volunteer for a couple of days throughout the year? You also want to look at their recent announcements. For example, have they published any press releases? Have they been in the news recently? Because you might be asked about that in the interview. You also want to make sure that you familiarize yourself with the company's history. For example, when was the company founded? Who are the executive officers? Who is the head of the department where you're applying to? Most importantly, I would advise you to look at the values and the culture of the company, because at the end of the day, they will look for these values in you. So make sure that you position yourself as the best candidate for this role. You are most probably not going to be asked any specific questions about the company, but it will definitely help you to get an outstanding idea of the company, and it will also strengthen your reasoning of why you applied to that specific company, to that specific role. It will also enable you to quickly tie your background and your achievements to what the company is looking for. Tip number 2. Review your job description. Now, once you submitted your job application, you want to make sure that you go back to the job description and look at what are going to be your main responsibilities, and you also want to familiarize yourself with the competencies and skills that they're looking for. What I tend to do is I write my qualifications down and the skills that I have, and I write down some examples on how these align with what the company is looking for and what they wrote in their description, so that I can use these relevant examples in the interview. So for example, if they're looking for 5 competencies, make sure that you write these competencies down on a piece of paper and write down an example of how you actually meet these requirements and how you have gained these competencies. Tip number 3, practice answering interview questions. You cannot foresee all the questions that are going to be asked in the interview, but you can make sure that you prepare as well as you can, and even if there's a question that you might not have expected or that you might not have prepared, you still will have the confidence because you've practiced a lot and you've practiced similar questions to the one that might be asked. There are many websites out there that list all the most popular scenario and competency questions. So what I encourage you to do is look at these questions, write them down, and just practice how you would answer them. You can ask a friend or family member to ask you specific questions. I always ask my twin brother to interview me, or you can also record yourself with your phone or your camera. This will also show you if you're keeping eye contact, and it will also show you how the hiring manager would actually see you and perceive you. So at the end of each interview, the hiring manager might ask you, do you have any questions? So you definitely want to make sure that you prepare 1 or 2 questions beforehand, because it might seem like you're unbothered or not really interested in the role if you don't have any questions at the end of the interview. These questions could be about the company, about the role, or you can also ask something personal regarding the hiring manager's working life. For example, when they started out in the company, how they are finding it, or even something cheeky like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Or where do you see the company in 5 years? But always try to keep it professional as possible, of course. Tip number 4. Use the STAR method. In many job interviews, you are definitely going to be asked behavioral questions to see how you would actually respond to situations in the workplace. I always prepare for these questions using the STAR method. So S stands for situation, T stands for task, A stands for action, and R stands for result. So if you're asked a question, you first want to make sure that you explain the situation that you were in. Then you want to talk about the task that you were given. A stands for action, so you want to talk about the action that you took and what you did. What steps did you take to reach that goal or solve that problem? And when it's time for you to explain the result, this is actually your time to shine. So you want to explain how you made a positive difference. Preparing for these questions in advance will definitely prepare you to answer these questions efficiently, and it will also show that you're prepared for the questions because you're not taking 1 or 2 minutes to answer the question, but you're being concise and quite specific. Tip number 5, look and act the part. It is extremely important that you dress appropriately for the interview because first impressions do count. In most cases, a business casual outfit such as a skirt and a professional shirt work best for interview attire. You also want to make sure that your makeup looks natural, your hair is styled in a simple way, and you also don't want to wear bright colored lipstick or nail polish. Now, it's also really important to smile while you're at the interview. It is important to smile because it gives the impression that you're confident, that you're happy to be there, and that you have a positive and nice personality. It's also really important that you're nice to everyone. You should be nice to any other candidates that are there on the day. You should be nice to the receptionist. You should be nice to the cleaning staff or anyone that you actually meet. Hiring managers, believe it or not, might go to the receptionist and ask whether a candidate was rude or did not acknowledge them. So definitely make sure that you are polite and respectful at all times. One last thing, make sure that you're being your best authentic self. You will have to spend quite a lot of time in the office with your colleagues, so of course you want to make sure that they hire someone that they think will be the perfect match for their team. Remember that the successful candidates usually are the ones who sell themselves the best. It's not necessarily about your skills, because you can definitely teach skills, but you can't change personality. Okay guys, these were my 5 tips and tricks on how to ace your job interviews. I hope you will be using one, if not all of them, in your next job interview. And if you liked this video, then please leave me a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel. Also, if you have any questions, just leave them down below and I will get back to you. And yeah, that's it guys. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye.